Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking to you in relation to this book. Now this is a book that I purchased from the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge. Yesterday I was very fortunate enough to go for a trip to Cambridge. It's about an hour from where I live to the museum to see this exhibition, Made in Ancient Egypt. This is an exhibition that they've had running for some months now. I believe the exhibition is due to end at the beginning of April. If you're able to go, then I would highly recommend it. I would also recommend a trip to the Fitzwilliam Museum anyway. They do have, I think it's 3 galleries with a permanent ancient Egypt exhibits, plus a lot of other exhibits from a wide range of time periods. There's a lot of pottery, there's armour, there's other objects and furniture from a variety of time periods, also marble and marble statues. There's all sorts going on in this museum. It's well worth a visit. The time that I was there, I was obviously focusing on the ancient Egyptian exhibits. I didn't see all of the museum. In of itself, it is worth going to the museum, if nothing else, to go in through the main entrance and see the entranceway and how beautiful that is. I won't go into too much detail of that, but you could probably Google the images online and see the beautiful ceiling and the architecture and the decoration. The museum itself is free. This exhibition was ticketed. We went effectively on the last Sunday of the month, and on the last Sunday of the month, any ticketed exhibits are pay what you can afford rather than pay the full asking price. So we did pay a bit less than the normal asking ticketed price, just because from the point of view of our budget. We went to Cambridge in the car. We went to Trumpington Park and Ride. That is the nearest park and ride for the Fitzwilliam Museum. We were on the bus for approximately 5 minutes, and the park and ride bus stops right outside the museum. On a Sunday, it doesn't open until 12 p.m. and it is shut on Mondays. So that's the museum. It's well worth a visit. If nothing else, the amount of exhibits and objects they have in there there'll be something for everybody in there. So I would recommend it. From the museum, you're also fairly central to the rest of Cambridge and the Cambridge city centre. There's other museums in Cambridge. They are all linked to the university. Of course, you've got the colleges. You have a lot of shops, including quite a lot of independent shops. If you'd rather get away from chains and chain retailers and national retailers, there's lots of independent places to eat as well. So it can be a very full-on, well, there's a market as well, a great day out for everybody. But I would certainly recommend the Fitzwilliam Museum if you are in any way interested in history of any kind. You'll find something there for everybody. So we went to see the exhibition, and this is the guidebook from the exhibition. I've often found that these guidebooks, you can actually get quite a good deal in terms of the amount of information that you get from these guidebooks. I think guidebooks over the years have improved dramatically. I didn't get one for the museum. I didn't see a specific museum one. I just bought this. You walked through the this particular exhibition, and as you came out at the end, you were obviously, there was a stand where they were selling this guidebook. The guidebook cost me £20, which I think a lot of people might say, well, that's a lot for a guidebook. It is, but I wanted to show you the book to show you just what you get for £20. Now, the exhibition was called Made in Ancient Egypt, and it was looking at objects and the makers of objects such as furniture, jewellery, clothing, inscriptions, carved in stone. It was trying to focus more on the ordinary and everyday in ancient Egypt. This book has been compiled by Helen Strudwick with Thomas Clark. I doubt you'll be able to see that on there. It is published on behalf of the Fitzwilliam Museum, the University of Cambridge. And as you can see, I'm trying to show how thick this book is. If I can get it, see there we go. I'm trying to give people an idea of what you get for £20. I thought this was worthwhile. The book itself is about 184 pages long. I thought this was good value for £20. It also contains some great photos and lots of information. So if you are able to go and see the exhibition, I would highly recommend it. And I would recommend a trip to the Fitzwilliam Museum. This is not in any way a paid or sponsored video. This is purely my own thoughts on the museum and on the exhibition, which I thoroughly enjoyed. This image you can see on the front of the book. All the images in the book are in the exhibition. This is a very small sculpture. I think it's probably, that's how big it is on the cover. I want to say it's probably even smaller than that when I saw it, of a face of a queen. As you can see, there is damage on it. But this was a very small scale. I would say probably about that big, maybe. Not quite sure how that comes across, but small in the cabinet case. So we will have a look through the book. I just wanted to give you a brief showing of the book. As you can see, some really lovely photos. It is published by, I think it's just the University of Cambridge. They probably have their own, Paul Holberton Publishing. They probably have their own publishers. We have the index page here. You can see the different aspects, the different sections of the exhibition, I think is fair to say here. So we've got stone workers, pottery, faience and glass, metal workers, jewellery, linen and basketry, woodworkers, papyri and coffin makers. All of those areas were covered in this exhibition. You have the foreword. I won't go through everything, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what this book is like. The font is reasonable, I think. It probably isn't showing up very well here, but the font is reasonable. We have some history here linked to the objects. We have some history around how people would have made some of these objects and what people are doing currently in modern day Egypt around crafts and making things such as linens, textiles, jewellery, furniture. I'll go through everything in here. As I say, I did see in the exhibition. And as we've got here, you've got some stelae here, and then on this side you have the information. You have in more italics, you have obviously the dates and where it's come from, and for example, these are all made out of limestone. And then we have some information here about stelae, and some more information about the individual images. Here we have more workers in stone reliefs, hieroglyphics, carvings, statues, sculptures. Everything is labelled very well. It gives information on where it was found and some information, if they know, on who may have made it or the techniques that were used. Here we are going into glass and faience. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. This was stunning. I saw this. This fish was absolutely amazing. Incredible detail. I'll just go through a bit more. Shabtis, there was quite a few on display. Some like this in sort of the glass faience seem quite, I don't want to use the word basic, but primitive. And then you've got ones like this which have a bit more detail on them. I'll go through. Then we had linens. I saw this. This was a beautiful, what they called a girdle, like a long sash that you would wrap around your middle. And this is the girdle of Ramses III. We have like a scarf here. We have some linen cloth here. Obviously with linens, they can deteriorate quite rapidly once they're exposed to the air and to the elements from a tomb. So I think there's probably not a great deal of fabric. I could be wrong, but I would imagine there's a lot of fabric that has just disintegrated and broken down over time since being found. It's probably not an item that lasts very long unless you're able to preserve it very quickly. And obviously linens that were found 100 plus years ago, they didn't have the technology to do that as they do now. Spells from Book of the Dead, so papyri, again, a material that's going to break down quite quickly unless you're able to get to it to preserve it as soon as possible. So there was definitely a lot of variety, a lot of items. Here we have blue glass and wood. Again, this would be the classic round and eye, which you would see. I mean, the famous example would be Tut's face mask, but you would see in a lot of images and on a lot of sculptures, and that's obviously blue glass, and also using lapis as well. Lapis lazuli, the ancient Egyptians loved that. Then at the back we've got history. I'm trying to keep the book open. It's quite a thick book, it's quite hard. More photos, more images. There's a lot here. I mean, you could read through this book or pick out depending on if you like particular subjects. And here we are about the artists and makers of modern Egypt, which I think is a really nice touch to give you a bit of context setting about what people are doing today. And I guess having an understanding probably that a lot of the techniques still remain the same and some probably have changed, but it's still good to know that people are still making all this wonderful crafts and items. So we have this right at the end of the book. I'm just going to go to the very end. I guess a lot of crafts and things that are made for the tourist market in Egypt now. Then at the back we have further reading, always really helpful, always a really good resource. It gives you, I guess really a book like this would be a jumping off point to look for further research and information and look at the work, the research that has been used to put this book together and also to put the exhibition together. So we've got a lot of resources here. Now, I'm guessing a lot of these you would find through the university, but the university has a website. A lot of universities have libraries that anyone can access. You can join either for free or for a very limited, small fee. And you may be able to find these documents and these books online as PDFs maybe, or through Kindle, ways of reading books like that. It also gives you details of the authors, and you can obviously look at some of these authors as well and see if they've got what they're writing about, particularly if they're Egyptologists or they sort of specialise in that history period. We've got here the chronology, which is always helpful, a glossary of particular terms, which will be good. And right at the back, we have biographies of the authors that have been involved with putting this book and this collection together. Again, you could Google some of these people and see if they've got websites or social media, if they're working on a particular area of your interest that you would find helpful. And the usual acknowledgements, and at the back there is picture credits, and there is picture credits, so where all the items have come from. I think they have come from a variety of different museums and collections, and then obviously been put together. So this is the guide, as I say, the guidebook. Now, by my standards, I think this is more than a guidebook. In my experience, a guidebook basically gives you is usually a lot thinner, a lot smaller, fewer pages, with far fewer photographs and far less information in. So I take this. This is more. I wouldn't say it's an academic text because it's been made for the public to buy for the exhibition, but it gives you an awful lot of information. And it costs £20, which, again, people may say that's a lot for a guidebook, but I don't think it is, given what you've got in this book, the information, the quality of the photos. It's decent quality paper. It gives a hell of a lot. So I think the £20 was well worth it. It's a book that you can use as a reference book and come back to from time and time again. And it may well provide insight into aspects of ancient Egypt that you hadn't thought about before. So this is why I bought it. I wouldn't normally, as I say, buy guidebooks, but I thought this was well worth it. So that was my day trip to the Fitzwilliam Museum and this wonderful exhibition. I hope people found this helpful. I don't know whether the museum is actually selling this online in their own online shop. It may be worth looking. Even if you can't get to the exhibition, you might be able to pick this book up anyway, which I'm sure if you're interested in ancient Egypt, you would find this a helpful and useful and interesting resource to add to your library. So that may well be worth checking out. If I can, I will try and put a link to the Fitzwilliam Museum at the bottom of my page on the description. As I said, this is not in any way sponsored or paid for. This is just purely all my own thoughts and feelings and, my genuine interest in this subject matter and with the museum, which I have to say was my first time visiting the museum. Would I go back again? Absolutely. I'd like to go back and see more of the museum itself. So if that's something you can do, I think you would have a wonderful day out. I hope people have found that interesting. Please, if you can, like and subscribe with the video. And if you feel you want to make any comments on any of this, then please feel free to do so. And I will do my best. If it's a question, I'll do my best to answer it or reply to your comment. But for now, thank you for watching. I hope this has been insightful. And until next time, goodbye.